If you listened to last week's episode, you'll know that I'm in Sydney and joined by my good friend and travel buddy, Cynthia Globe, as she calls herself. We met in Florida a few years ago and found out that we travel well together. And now we're heading to New Zealand on a 12-day cruise from Sydney. Before crossing over to New Zealand, we have 3 stops in Australia: Eden, Tasmania, and Melbourne. But first we're sailing out of Sydney Harbour. It's 6 o'clock p.m. in Sydney, and I am on a cruise ship called Spirit, Norwegian Spirit, and I am about to go on a cruise. In front of us we have the skyline of beautiful Sydney, and then the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Yesterday I did a bridge climb. I walked to the top of the bridge, and in a few minutes we're going to be sailing under it on our way to New Zealand. My name is Palle Bo, and this is the Radio Vagabond.
Meet Palle Bo, a full-time traveler and digital nomad from Denmark on an epic journey around the world. This is the Radio Vagabond.
As we're about to sail out, we're on the front deck, Cynthia, and really expecting a beautiful sail out, because we're going to go under the Sydney Harbour Bridge, under the coat hanger, and then in front of Sydney Opera House. Tell me about what you thought of the sail out.
So I've been blessed to get to do quite a few cruises, and I think that's got to be one of the most fabulous sail outs I've ever had in the world. I think partly because we were on the deck of the ship, partly because we had ideal weather, partly because we didn't leave from the main harbor docks that are near the Opera House. We were actually out at what's called the White City Port, and it's on the opposite side of the Sydney Harbour Bridge from the Opera House. So because of where we sailed out from, we got to do that amazing sail out going under the bridge, which was the first time I'd ever been under the bridge, and then by the Opera House, and then exiting through those dramatic heads at the entrance to the Natural Harbor. So it was just a stunning afternoon. I must have taken 1,000 pictures, and I think you took a bunch on your 360 as well.
Yeah, I did a time lapse of when we were doing the sail out, and looked spectacular.
Cast off from Sydney as the dawn unfurls.
This episode is brought to you in part by Hotels25.com. It's a website that helps you find the best prices on hotels and guest houses and hostels around the world in one simple search. Hotels25.com.
The Radio Vagabond. Gotta keep moving. The Radio Vagabond, sailing with stories. From Sydney to the lands of Kiwi. Podcast painting pictures of every shore and face. Adventure spun on ocean's grace across the open space.
We boarded the Norwegian Spirit, heading from Sydney, Australia to Auckland in New Zealand. It's a big cruise ship that's been sailing the high seas for over 2 decades. So let's have a few facts about this ship.
And now, facts about where we are.
Let's start with the basics. She's a big girl. Seriously huge, measuring 268 meters long, almost 3 soccer fields, and weighing a massive 77,000 gross ton. That's about the same weight as 64 fully loaded Boeing 747 jumbo jets or 22,000 grown-up elephants. So this isn't your grandma's rowboat. We're talking a massive ship with over 1,000 cabins, capable of carrying over 2,000 passengers with 2 people in each cabin. And at full capacity, with every bed filled, the ship holds 2,532 passengers and about 900 crew members. That's practically a small town on sea. Launched way back in 1998, the Spirit has gotten a few facelifts and seen more makeovers than a reality TV star over the years to keep her looking fresh. Just before this cruise, she underwent a $100 million renovation, so she's packing all the latest modern amenities you'd expect on a modern cruise ship. On board you'll find not 1, not 2, but a whopping 17 dining options. If you can't find something to eat here, you might just be too picky. From fancy French bistros to all-you-can-eat buffets. There's also plenty of space to spread out over the Spirit's 12 decks. There's more to do here than at a summer fair. Casinos, Broadway shows, spas and pools. If you're bored, that's on you. The ship even has a basketball court. Yeah, you can shoot hoops in the middle of the ocean. Talk about a game with a view. Overall, the Norwegian Spirit is an oldie but goodie, packed with more dining options and days of the week, entertainment that could almost rival Vegas. She's a world traveler, an entertainment hub, and a foodie's paradise, all rolled into one. The Norwegian Spirit is your gal.
And that was facts about where we are.
Our first stop on the cruise is Eden, located on the Sapphire Coast of New South Wales, Australia, south of Sydney. And the first thing I asked the locals when we got on land was, of course, do you have a Garden of Eden? And the guy said, as a matter of fact, we do. Eden is a small coastal town with a population of a bit more than 3,000 people, so about the same number of people that were on the boat. And a historic whaling town, now known for its stunning natural beauty and rich marine heritage. Cynthia and I, we decided not to book a tour, but just go for a walk and explore. So when we got off the ship, we walked into a small tourist office on the wharf to get some advice.
Okay. I heard about the Rotary Park and the lookout there, but open to your suggestions.
Okay. So you're down here at the wharf at the moment.
This is Cheryl at the tourist office, giving us tons of free advice.
So if I orientate it this way, so you've got two options. So this is our main street out here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So if you go right and to the top of the hill is Rotary Park.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a nice lookout point. When you're up there, Eden is in Twofold Bay. So we've got one fold and two-fold. That's how it got its name. So you'll be about here when you're up at that viewing platform. So you'll get a good view of Boyds Tower. Do you know anything about Boyds Tower? No?
No, we didn't know much about Boyds Tower, but now we do. And it's a story worth telling. It involves a tale about ambition, rivalry, and a bit of comedy set here in the picturesque backdrop of Eden.
So Benjamin Boyd was a bit of an entrepreneur that came out from the UK with a lot of British money, came out to set up his own little empire.
The story stars Benjamin Boyd, a 19th century entrepreneur with more money than sense.
Bought a whole lot of cattle stations, land to set up cattle stations and sheep stations.
And a towering ambition that matched the structure he built.
And then over here at Boyds Town, he decided to set up an inn and had workers' cottages and things like that.
Okay.
He was rich, ambitious, and loved big projects.
He was really rivaling our main centre here. So he was trying to win ships over to his wharf and encourage them to spend their money over at his little town.
So he built a tower thinking,
yeah, I'll make a lighthouse to help my whaling ships and that way get the ships to dock here on my side of the bay and spend their money over here.
So Boyds Tower was built from limestone blocks that were shipped down from Sydney.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
A big deal back then.
Yeah.
The tower was tall, made of beautiful sandstone, and looked exactly like a lighthouse, except for one tiny detail.
So 1843, he wanted to build it as a lighthouse.
Boyd never got the green light to actually use it as a lighthouse.
Had a bit of an argument with the colonial government at the time. They wanted him to light it for every ship, and he said, no, I only want to light it for mine.
Oops. It's like baking a huge, delicious birthday cake, but then realizing that you forgot to invite somebody to the party. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Some say Boyd simply forgot to ask for permission to light his tower, but when you chat to locals, like Cheryl at the tourist office, you'll hear a different story. She says Boyd chose not to light it.
So he didn't light it at all.
No worries.
Because he thought,
if I can't have it my way, I won't have it at all.
So it was never actually used as a lighthouse.
Imagine Boyd standing there with hands on his hips, looking up at his tower and saying,
no light for you.
But it was super handy for the whalers. They used it as a spotting tower. So really good use for
Even without the light, they were still useful.
Yeah. It gave them a good height to see across the bay.
Whether he forgot to ask, got denied, or simply chose not to light it, Boyds Tower never did its job as a lighthouse. Instead, it became a whaling lookout and a fixed point for ships even without the lights. And what became of Boyd? Well, his dreams were bigger than his wallet could handle, so eventually he ran out of money. And as far as I could find out, he set his sight on the California gold rush.
I'll transport passengers and supplies to the goldfields in California. I'm gonna cash in on the booming demand made by the gold rush. It's gonna be great.
But that didn't work out for him, so he decided to explore the Pacific Islands. It was during this period, specifically in 1851, that he traveled to the Solomon Islands, where he met his mysterious fate. Some say pirates got him, some think he started a new life under a different name, and others say that he was killed by indigenous people on the Solomon Islands. But there's no definitive evidence to confirm exactly what happened to Benjamin Boyd. Today, Boyds Tower is a cool reminder of big dreams, a bit of stubbornness, and how history can leave us guessing. So, when you're in Eden, take a moment to see this tower that never shone its light. It's a funny story of a man and his tower, a lighthouse that was never really a lighthouse.
Kicking off in Sydney, sails to the wind, life untethered, hitting the waves of dreams big, no storm in camp weather. First stop Eden, where the seas whisper ghostly. Boyds Tower standing, a beacon mostly. Haunted tales where Boyd vanished, left fate to flirt. A lighthouse without light, mysteries buried in dirt. No whales today, just the echoes of a tale. Each empty wave tells a story, set sail.
You are listening to the Radio Vagabond. We'll be right back.
I hope you've noticed that I've started doing shorter episodes every Saturday. I call them Vagabond Shorts, and they're designed to give you quick travel tips and a sprinkle of inspiration for your weekends. What's unique is that they're not just audio. There's also a video version available on YouTube and on our Facebook page, adding a visual dimension to your experience. To achieve a professional quality, I collaborate with video editors at vidpros.com. I record my content, send it to them, and they add relevant video clips and smooth transitions. This not only saves me time, but also makes sure it's high quality content. If you're looking for a professional video editor for your business, I have a special offer. Use promo code VAGABOND at vidpros.com for a 10% discount on your first month. And also make sure to dive into my Vagabond Shorts for a new way to get inspired about travel.
And now, let's get back to the show.
Snap back, hit play, let the stories cascade. The Radio Vagabond, man, he's got it made. From one port to the next, Mike's his sword. Spinning tails, laying down tracks at board.
We followed Cheryl's advice and walked to the Eden Lookout in Rotary Park and saw the tower from across the Twofold Bay. It was just a small walk from the cruise terminal to the park. And the walk itself was scenic, giving us a taste of Eden's natural beauty. And it's a haven for whale watching. Though we visited in March and missed the whale migration season, which peaks between May and November. But we learned that this area is a prime spot for witnessing the annual journey of the humpback whales.
We're at Rotary Park here in Eden, and a spot where it's actually possible to spot whales, especially some times of year. There's a sign here where it says, each winter many whales are seen in New South Wales waters between Eden and Point Danger. Yeah, that's just so Australian. They have a place called Point Danger as they migrate from the Antarctic to their tropical breeding grounds.
Standing in Rotary Park, we are captivated by the panoramic views of the ocean.
I'll give everyone a moment just to take in the view, and then I'll point out a few things.
Imagine the sight of whales breaching in the distance during the right season.
I'll get out of the way, guys, so there's some more room at the front.
And on the other side of the bay, we could see the tower on top of a hill.
And then the whales return to Antarctic at the end of the spring, some completing the longest migration of any animal species. But it's summer here now, so we're probably not going to see any whales today.
This experience, even without the whales, was a cool start to our adventures towards New Zealand. I mentioned Point Danger, and like I said, it's just so Australian to have a name like that, because Australia is famous for its quirky and sometimes downright humorous place names. These names often reflect the country's rich history, indigenous languages, and the classic Aussie love for a good joke. Here are some of my favorites. First up, let's talk about Wooloomoogo. That's a place with 8 O's in its name, making it not only a tongue twister, but also one of the longest place names down under. And then there's a place called Useless Loop. You've got to wonder about the story behind that name. It might not sound too inviting, but it's definitely memorable. And then for the adventurers out there, Mount Boogaroo is waiting for you. Yeah, you heard that right. It's as challenging as it sounds, and climbing it really might feel like the name suggests. Ever heard of Humpy Bong or Foul Bay? Wonder what it smells like there. And then there's Come By Chance, Poo Wong, and Humpty Doo. Now brace yourself for Tittybong. And of course, the city of Cockburn. Spelled in a way that might raise eyebrows, but it's pronounced Coburn without the CK sound. It's almost disappointing after seeing the sign. And last but not least, 3 names from Tasmania, where we're heading to next on the cruise. Here you can find places like Egg and Bacon Bay, Nowhere Else, and let's not forget Dew Town. Australia's full of places like this, places that reminds us not to take life too seriously. After all, how can you when you're heading down to Poo Wong after taking a detour through Useless Loop on your way to Come By Chance and Nowhere Else via Tittybong, Poo Wong, and Foul Bay?
The radio vagabond, sailing with stories on seas anew, from Sydney shores to the lands of the Kiwi so true.
If travel is your passion and you want escapism while still upholding your work and family responsibilities, the Radio Vagabond podcast.
On to Tasmania's coast.
Getting to Tasmania, we dock in Burnie, just north of Nowhere Else, but far from Egg and Bacon Bay and Dew Town. It's Australia's island state, known for its rugged wilderness and over 2,000 kilometers of walking tracks and 18 national and UNESCO World Heritage Sites. It's separated from the mainland Australia by the Bass Strait, and not many people know that the state was once connected to mainland Australia by a land bridge. That was a long time ago, and it was submerged about 11,000 years ago when the rising sea levels drowned it, creating the Bass Strait we know today. It's about 68,400 square kilometers in size, is the 26th largest island in the world, and actually bigger than my home country Denmark. And speaking of Denmark, our newly crowned king married a Tasmanian girl. So as a Dane, I feel a bit of connection to this island through our Queen Mary. It's almost exactly the same size as Sri Lanka, but unlike Sri Lanka, which is home to over 22 million people, Tasmania has only about 570,000 people. Unique facts also include having the cleanest air in the world and being the last place to see the Southern Lights, Aurora Australis. And then Tasmania is famous for one more thing.
The Tasmanian devil's liable to get you. He's a mean, vicious, nasty, no-good, baggy-eyed, marble-headed ignoramus. He's a stupid,
You guessed it. The Tasmanian devil.
Flattery will get you nowhere.
Jeez, what a grouch.
A unique little animal only found here. It is very different than the cartoon character, Taz from Looney Tunes. The real Tasmanian devil is a shy creature and primarily rummages for food, but sounds and look a bit scary. What's special is its robust build, black fur, and aggressive temperament, especially when feeding or threatened, leading to its infamous screech. This is what the real Tasmanian devil sounds like. Ugh. And it looks almost as scary as it sounds. If all this talk about cruising have made you want to go on one, and you might be a bit of a traveler, an adventurous soul, or maybe even a nomad, I recommend that you consider going on the next Nomad Cruise. See, that's a conference on a ship like this one for nomads and people who like to travel a lot and maybe work as they travel, like I do. The next one starts in Vancouver on the west coast of Canada on September 29th, 2024, and go to Alaska. That's going to be awesome, but that's not enough. We continue all the way to Tokyo, where we'll be on October 13th. It's going to happen on a big cruise ship like this one, but on top of all the cool stuff with the restaurants and the theater and the entertainment, we're going to attend keynotes, workshops, meetups, and most of all, a great community of like-minded people. I've done 4 of them so far, and from the very first moment, I felt like I found my tribe. It's a very inclusive community with people of all ages, genders, and all the colors of the rainbow. If you're interested in seeing more about what this is, go to nomadcruise.com and check out some of their videos and read much more about what Nomad Cruise is. And if you want to join us on this trip, I have a gift for you. You can get €100 off your price if you use the promo code
Radio Vagabond.
And then I hope to see you between Canada and Japan later this year or one of the future Nomad Cruises. Okay, let's get back to this one. The island is still very connected to the mainland, but by boats. When we got on the bus from the cruise terminal to Burnie City, the driver talks a bit about this.
So you've got a ship every day from Melbourne, and it's the same in Devonport, which is about 50 k's down the road. They've got Sea Road that does the same as Toll, and they've got the Spirit of Tassie that take cars and caravans and containers.
There are daily ferries to and from Melbourne, both from Burnie and Devonport, about an hour's drive east along the northern coast of the island.
So if you reckon the Norwegian Star was pretty rolly last night, if you're on the Spirit, it probably would have been twice as bad.
What he's saying is that the Bass Strait between Tasmania and Melbourne can get quite rough. So if we felt the waves crossing on the big cruise ship, Norwegian Spirit, we should try it on the smaller ferry, also called something with spirit, the Spirit of Tasmania, or as he calls it, the Tassie Spirit. The trip across takes around 9 to 11 hours, depending on how rough the sea is, and some days they have both one in the morning and one at night.
But Burnie here's got a population of around about 20,000 people. Devonport's got about 30,000 people, and that's the 3rd largest city in Tasmania. And Burnie is the 4th largest.
So Devonport and Burnie are the 3rd and the 4th largest cities on the island.
Burnie used to be bigger than Devonport, but when they closed the paper pulp mill down, it shrunk, and then Devonport grew.
Yeah, when the paper mill in Burnie closed down, it was a huge deal for the town, and it shrunk in population.
You'll see that old chimney down the road down there. That was part of the paper pulp mill.
But even though losing the paper mill was a big blow, Burnie bounced back by finding new ways to grow, like tourism.
So we're just around the corner here, and where I drop you off is the pickup point 2. The last? No, I don't. Oh, don't worry. Hang about.
And that shows, because when we got to the center of Burnie, the mayor of the city herself, Teeny Brumby, was waiting for us to welcome us.
Because our Lord Mayoress comes... Yes! And she's been for an early morning swim, she tells me.
And giving us her talk about all the great stuff the city has to offer.
Welcome to the city of Burnie. I am the mayor of the city, Teeny Brumby, and it's my great delight to welcome you. I've heard you're very important people, is that correct? Yeah! Well, marvellous. We won't have any rain today. I'm that powerful, I can cause the clouds to disappear. Guys, our CBD is directly behind you. We've got great boutique shops and the best coffee Tasmania has to offer, and I know you need good coffee to fuel you up when you're enjoying the delights. Now, guys, in one stop, we're going to let you off, but we've got a beautiful museum on the right-hand side. It is 100-year-old Federation Street, what Burnie looked like 100 years ago, and it's free. And I know you like free, don't you, as you're travelling? Absolutely. Now, guys, the foreshore is also another free experience down on the water. It's beautiful. Take a wander along our boardwalk, won't you? You'll probably hear the little penguins. You might even see them. But don't leave the boardwalk and take photos in their homes, please. Only taking photos from the boardwalk. We would appreciate that very much. Now, Burnie is home to the largest range of rhododendrons in the southern hemisphere. We've got a free shuttle 10 minutes up to those gardens out of our city, and then it's $15 entry to have a look. And you probably see platypus, echidna, maybe even a wallaby. See how you go, but it is absolutely gorgeous. Now, guys, your last bus is today at 5 o'clock from this stop. So don't be late. We want you to get back onto that ship and get your money's worth, okay? Guys, I trust as you travel the globe, you will remember that beautiful city in Tasmania where the volunteers were just delightful and the Mayor took time out of her schedule to welcome you to Burnie. Welcome, guys. Thank you. And here is your stop.
Apparently, it's a big deal for the town when a big cruise ship docks for the day. And then they even brought bagpipes. Like many parts of Australia, Burnie has a rich heritage of Scottish settlers. The history of Scottish migration to Australia dates back to the early days of European settlement, and Tasmania was no exception. Scottish settlers were among the people from Europe that made their way to this island, attracted by the opportunities for land and a new life. So that explains the presence of bagpipes playing in Burnie.
You're listening to the Radio Vagabond podcast. If you're curious about his looks, check out the Radio Vagabond on TikTok or Instagram. Just remember what curiosity did to the cat.
Even though the mayor sold the city of Burnie pretty well, and they had bagpipes, we'd already decided to go a bit east to search for some small animals. Not the Tasmanian devil, but another small and much cuter animal. We went to the charmingly named town called Penguin, looking for the feathered animal it took its name from. This picturesque seaside town was named in 1861 after the little penguins, Eudiptera minor, that are commonly seen along the Tasmanian coastline. These adorable creatures are known for their evening parade when returning to shore after a day of fishing in the ocean. They're much harder to spot during the day, as Mark in the local penguin tourist office tells us.
Yeah, well, penguins are feeding during the day.
Yeah.
And they come back at dusk to feed the chicks. There are chicks in the nest, but you can't go. Well, you can't go.
No.
Okay.
We'd heard that watching these penguins waddling back to their nest is a truly charming experience. But as we needed to get back in Burnie to catch the last bus to the cruise ship at 5...
So don't be late. We want you to get back onto that ship and get your money's worth, okay?
We wouldn't be able to do that. A bit disappointing, but no worries, as they say here down under.
No worries. Oh, well,
So
we'll
it's
go
a
see the
cruise
big
ship.
penguin, right?
Yeah, straight across the road.
Gotta go have our picture taken
Yeah.
with the big penguin. Thank you.
No worries. Bye.
As Cynthia says, we're going to see the big penguin. It's a statue that stands about 3 meters tall, nearly 10 feet. It stands proudly in the town center, and it's a popular spot for photos and a cheerful welcome to visitors and locals representing the playful spirit of this coastal Tasmanian town. The town itself has gone all in with the penguin theme, which adds to the charm. Most businesses have penguin in their name, so I've never seen so many logos with drawings of penguins. There's the Penguin Beachfront Apartments, Penguin Waterfront Escape, Penguin Pantry, Penguin Lions Up Bottle Shop, Penguin Food Bar, Sunrise at Penguin, and the bed and breakfast called High on Penguin, just to name a few. And throughout the small town, you'd find various penguin statues and themed decorations, making it a funful place for a laid-back stroll. But if you're only interested in spotting the actual live penguins, the best time to see them is at dusk, especially during the breeding season, usually from September to March. So again, like in Eden, we missed the main attraction. But still, we enjoyed our visit to Penguin. Even though our visit to Tasmania was a short one, I really enjoyed the vibe of the island and its people. So much that it's high on my places that I want to go back to and spend longer time. I want to experience the capital, Hobart, do a road trip around the island, and meet the locals. Hey, maybe I can even do like our King Frederick and find a princess. Anyway, we had to get back to the cruise ship because, you know.
So don't be late. We want you to get back onto that ship and get your money's worth, okay?
Next stop is Melbourne, back on the mainland of Australia. Here we have an appointment with a local we got in contact with through couchsurfing. He's promised to show us around, and that's coming up in the next episode. And remember, another Vagabond short on Saturday. That one is a bit special. It's about tourist scams and how to avoid them. My name's Palle Bo, and I gotta keep moving. See ya.
Radio Vagabond.
Produced by RadioGuru.co.uk.